In the bustling world of law, there are two figures standing out in a sea of suits and legal jargon. One is a seasoned lawyer, a man known for his sharp mind and even sharper tongue. He's a product of his time, stuck in old beliefs, and it's clear to everyone that his views don't align with the changing world around him. He's been in the game for years, and that's where his arrogance comes from. He believes his experience makes him better than everyone else, especially the younger lawyers who are trying to prove themselves. The other is a younger, ambitious black attorney, who's quickly making a name for himself. Despite being new to the legal world, his skills are undeniable. He approaches every case with meticulous care, focusing on justice rather than winning at all costs. He's had to fight harder than most to get to where he is, knowing that his journey is filled with challenges that others don't face. His demeanor is calm, but inside, there's a fire. He's determined to show everyone that he belongs. Their paths cross when they are both invited to work on the same high-profile case. At first, their relationship is cordial, but there's tension underneath. The seasoned lawyer, already dismissive of many newcomers, takes one look at the black attorney and immediately judges him. He scoffs at the idea of this younger man having what it takes to succeed in this world. He's quick to label him unfit, assuming that his race somehow makes him less capable, even though the black attorney has already proven himself to be a brilliant mind in the courtroom. But the black attorney doesn't back down. He knows the real battle has just begun. From the very beginning, the seasoned lawyer made it clear where he stood. He didn't try to hide his feelings, not even when they were working together on cases. He looked at the younger black attorney, sizing him up with a dismissive glance. He didn't trust his skills, didn't believe he had the experience to handle the cases they were working on. In every meeting, every discussion, he undermined the younger lawyer's ideas, brushing them off as naive or unrealistic. It was obvious to everyone in the room that the seasoned lawyer's opinions weren't based on the black attorney's abilities, but on something deeper. He was driven by an outdated, racist mindset that he'd carried with him for years. The seasoned lawyer would often make comments, almost under his breath, about how the black attorney was unfit for the work. He would question his intelligence and belittle his methods, using his age and race as a way to dismiss him before he even had a chance to prove himself. "This isn't the place for someone like you," the seasoned lawyer would mutter. "You're not cut out for this." His tone was cold, and though it was subtle, it was clear. The black attorney, despite hearing the insults and the condescension, kept his composure. He knew that this was the world he had to navigate. He had seen this before, this kind of bias, and he wasn't going to let it stop him. What the seasoned lawyer didn't realize, though, was that his words were doing more than just bruising the younger man's ego. They were motivating him, pushing him harder than ever to prove that he was more than just what others thought of him. Every time the seasoned lawyer criticized him, it pushed him further toward success. He knew he had the skills to match anyone in that room. He just needed the chance to show it. But the seasoned lawyer didn't care about chances. He had already made up his mind. And in his mind, the black attorney was always going to be unfit. The constant dismissal from the seasoned lawyer began to take its toll. At first, the black attorney tried to brush it off, focusing only on his work and the cases at hand. But the more the seasoned lawyer belittled him, the harder it became to ignore. It wasn't just the words that stung. It was the way they were said, with such certainty, as though the older lawyer's opinion was the only one that mattered. Each criticism felt like a weight on his shoulders, adding pressure to an already demanding career. Despite this, the black attorney refused to let it break him. He would go home after long days in court, sit in silence and try to process everything. There were nights when he questioned himself, wondering if the seasoned lawyer was right. Was he really cut out for this? Were people like him really meant to succeed in such a competitive, often unforgiving field? But then he'd think about why he became a lawyer in the first place. It wasn't for recognition or fame. It was for justice, for the opportunity to use his skills to make a difference. He could feel the fire within him, the desire to prove himself not just to the seasoned lawyer, but to everyone who ever doubted him. His path to law had been harder than most, and every achievement felt like it came with twice the effort. He couldn't give up now. He thought about his family, who had always supported him, even when the world didn't. They believed in him. They'd fought for him to have the opportunities he had, and he wasn't about to throw that away because of one man's narrow-minded views. Still, it wasn't easy. The weight of the struggle showed in his work. He would stay up late, researching every angle of a case, making sure there was nothing left to chance. He poured his soul into each legal brief, each argument, knowing that every win, no matter how small, was one step closer to silencing the doubts others had about him. Every time the seasoned lawyer dismissed his ideas, it only fueled his desire to succeed, to prove that he was not unfit, but more than capable. The opportunity that would change everything came when both attorneys were assigned to work on the most important case of their careers. It was a high-profile case involving a corporation accused of environmental negligence, causing severe harm to a local community. The case was complicated, and the stakes were sky-high. Winning it meant not only proving a major corporation's wrongdoings, but also bringing justice to those who had suffered because of it. The pressure was immense, and it was clear that whoever handled this case successfully would make a name for themselves in the legal world. For the black attorney, this was his chance. He had worked on cases before, but nothing like this. The media was following it closely, the public was invested, and every legal mind in the country had their eyes on this trial. He knew that a win here would solidify his reputation, not just as a competent lawyer, but as someone who had what it took to take on the system itself and win. At the same time, the seasoned lawyer saw this case as his last chance to prove his superiority. He was known for taking on difficult cases and coming out on top. But this one felt different. The corporation had vast resources, and the case was a monster. It would require every ounce of his experience, every trick in the book, to even have a shot at winning. He was confident, maybe too confident, that his years in the game would give him an edge. As the two lawyers prepared, the tension between them only grew. They both knew that this case would be a turning point, not just for the case itself, but for their careers. The seasoned lawyer, despite his bias, was forced to work alongside the black attorney. He had no choice but to acknowledge his talent, even if he never said it out loud. The black attorney, on the other hand, had his own doubts. Could he really pull this off? Was he ready for such a monumental case? The black attorney began to immerse himself in every detail. He reviewed the evidence with precision, questioned witnesses with confidence, and researched the law like never before. It was clear to him that there was no room for error. He couldn't afford to fail. The seasoned lawyer, still dismissive of his abilities, took a more traditional approach, relying on his past methods. He made bold statements, took risks, and tried to intimidate the opposition. As the trial date drew closer, the weight of the case seemed to press down on both of them. But for the black attorney, it was a weight he welcomed. He knew this was his moment. This was the time to show the world that he was more than just unfit. He was ready to take on the system and win. The seasoned lawyer's overconfidence seemed to grow, but the black attorney could feel the tide slowly turning. Something inside him clicked. This wasn't just about winning the case, it was about proving that he was, indeed, cut out for this world. As the trial progressed, cracks began to form in the seasoned lawyer's confident exterior. In the beginning, he had been certain of his superiority. He had relied on his years of experience, his old-school tactics, and his reputation to navigate the case. But something about this trial was different. The black attorney, despite all his doubts and the obstacles in his way, was proving to be an incredibly sharp and resourceful partner. At first, the seasoned lawyer dismissed it. He told himself that the younger man's success was just luck or coincidence. But as the trial moved forward, he couldn't ignore the black attorney's contributions. The younger lawyer's arguments were solid, his insights were spot on, and his ability to connect with the jury was something the seasoned lawyer had never expected. It started to gnaw at him. He was seeing the black attorney's skills in action, and he realized that maybe, just maybe, he had underestimated him. There were moments in the courtroom when the seasoned lawyer would look at his partner and see something he had never expected. Confidence. It wasn't cocky or brash, like he had expected from someone so young. It was a quiet, determined confidence, the kind that came from knowing one's worth despite the odds. The seasoned lawyer began to wonder if his own arrogance had blinded him to the truth all along. Was he the one who was wrong all this time? Was the black attorney truly unfit, or had the seasoned lawyer simply been too blinded by his own prejudice to see his potential? For the first time in a long while, doubt crept into the seasoned lawyer's mind. The black attorney wasn't just holding his own, he was thriving, and the seasoned lawyer was starting to feel the weight of his own biases slowly unraveling. The turning point came on the final day of the trial, a day that would decide everything. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with anticipation. The seasoned lawyer, still trying to maintain control, presented his final arguments with the same forceful approach he always used. He was relying on his years of experience, his old tricks, and his bold statements to sway the jury. But as he spoke, he noticed something. His words didn't have the same impact they once did. The jury seemed distant, unfazed. The seasoned lawyer tried to shake it off, but deep down, he knew something wasn't right. Then, it was the black attorney's turn. The courtroom fell silent as he stood up to deliver his closing argument. He didn't speak with the same forceful command as the seasoned lawyer. Instead, he spoke quietly, steadily, with a deep sincerity that cut through the tension in the room. His words weren't just about the law. They were about the people who had been hurt, the community that had suffered because of the corporation's negligence. He made the jury see beyond the legal jargon, beyond the corporate defense, and feel the weight of the damage that had been done. The black attorney's argument wasn't flashy, but it was powerful. He connected with the jury on a human level, showing them that this wasn't just a case of law, it was a case of justice. His calmness in the face of such pressure, his ability to present the facts in a way that spoke to the jury's sense of right and wrong, left the seasoned lawyer in awe. For the first time, he saw the black attorney for who he truly was, a brilliant, capable lawyer, far beyond anything he had ever expected. When the jury returned with a verdict of guilty, the courtroom erupted in applause. The corporation had been held accountable, and justice had been served. The seasoned lawyer stood in stunned silence, his mind racing. He had underestimated the black attorney, and now he was witnessing the consequences of his own biases. The young lawyer had not only won the case, but he had also shattered the walls the seasoned lawyer had built around himself. In that moment, the seasoned lawyer realized the truth. The black attorney was far from unfit. He was exactly what the law needed. The days following the trial were a whirlwind. The black attorney's victory made headlines, and his reputation soared. He had proven himself not only to the legal world, but to everyone who had ever doubted him. As for the seasoned lawyer, things weren't as simple. The shock of the verdict weighed on him, and it wasn't just because they had lost. It was because of the realization that he had been wrong. Deeply wrong. In the quiet of his office, the seasoned lawyer sat alone, replaying the trial in his mind. He thought about how he had dismissed the black attorney's abilities, how he had let his own prejudices cloud his judgment. He thought about the moments when he had watched the younger lawyer present his arguments, seen his passion and dedication, and yet still refused to acknowledge the truth. Now, the weight of his arrogance was heavy. The black attorney had done what he himself could not. He had won, not just the case, but the respect of everyone who had once doubted him. The seasoned lawyer couldn't help but reflect on how much he had missed. In his pursuit of winning at all costs, he had closed himself off to growth, to change. Now, as he watched the black attorney's success unfold, he knew that his own journey was far from over. He had a lot to learn, and the first lesson was realizing that the man he had once labeled unfit was, in fact, everything he himself had been too blind to see.